Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the North Carolina. Why, you may ask? This classic battleship has no gimmicks. Have you noticed that a lot of the ships that have been releasing recently are just packed full of gimmicks? I thought it'd be nice to end the week on a ship that does not need any gimmicks to be an absolutely incredible experience. And also talk about why I think this is still the best battleship to learn battleships on, the best starter beginner battleship. Even Ohio, by the way, which we looked at yesterday, looks rather tame in comparison to a lot of the recently released ships. All their F keys, their combat instructions, that sort of thing. Do you remember when Ohio was released? That ship was also thought to be quite gimmick heavy. The fast cooldown heal, the secondaries, 457s with crazy turret traverse, better rudder shift than Montana even has on the same hull, a lot of things. And yet it looks rather tame. So we're going back to a very vanilla battleship in the North Carolina. Why is this ship so good for learning battleships on? Well, you just have very accurate guns that are very nice and consistent, alongside enough HP and tankiness to play a very standard battleship role. If you're wanting to get better at battleships, I don't think it's as good or as effective to play the new gimmick-heavy ships that will either split your focus between trying to take advantage of the gimmick and just playing well. Also, they will make up for mistakes that you might be making too, where if you had already learned how to play just a standard battleship role, then you wouldn't be making those more simple mistakes perhaps, and that way you would get even more out of the gimmick-heavy, extremely powerful newer ships. Perhaps that sounds like you are playing a worse ship on purpose. I don't think that's necessarily the case. At its best, North Carolina is still one of the best battleships in the game, tier for tier. These guns are extremely accurate. We also get some very nice deck armor that allows us to shatter some HE shells from cruisers, as well as bounce some battleship shells. NC armor is surprisingly decent as long as you are angling it. I think this is another really key point to playing battleships, is the ability to push up while not getting one shot, while not getting completely dev struck off the screen, or getting one healed. I'm seeing that a little bit more recently too, where battleships kind of just use one heal and they're off the board already. It's really important to learn how to position so that you're not going to have that happen. You can actually take advantage of a massive strength of battleships, which is that HP pool. You can bully a flank extremely well in the vast majority of battleships, thanks to having a large HP pool, great armor, and of course, the most healing in the game. We've been talking about cruisers and their ability to heal now at mid-tier, but let's be honest, a couple heals for 15k, 20k HP total is nothing in the face of battleship heals. A single NC heal is over 16,000 HP, and we get 5 of those. So don't be afraid to push up, but learning how to play these positions more aggressively, finding the broadsides, NC is usually going to deliver on those. I absolutely love this ship, and if you can figure that out, how to push effectively, how to hold a flank effectively, recognizing when you can push. Now, this is a blowout, I understand, but it's still a good example of getting up at the front of my team's push rather than kind of lagging behind. NC is not the fastest battleship, and yet we are aggressively pushing at the front of our flank, though possibly into a crossfire here. We shall see. Something you really want to be aware of, and this will be a little bit clearer in the second game I have to show for you after this one, but you want to be paying attention to your concealment as a battleship. One of the most advantageous things you can be is undetected. That way, enemies won't know where you're aiming, and perhaps they won't even know you're there. That allows you to surprise a lot of cruisers. Graph speed, paying attention here, turns as we shoot, so he avoids the salvo. What happens if you're undetected and they're just not aware of your presence? NC has great concealment, so learning how to play with that, perhaps using your concealment as a gauge of how close you can play to the enemy team in the earlier games. Watch for that in the next game, but trying to push up towards a cap and then placing our detection point, our 12.3 kilometer detect circle, on the very edge of the cap, so that if an enemy destroyer is within range, sure, he'll be spotting us, but oftentimes he'll be getting into an engagement there. We're as close as we can be to help on that engagement without actually getting detected too early and getting farmed down. Because that is a vulnerability, of course. Getting one healed, even if you're angled, not showing flat broadside, completely vulnerable, it is completely possible. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to do these things, okay? Mind you, I think it's important that it's rather difficult to actually take advantage of the strengths of your ship. There needs to be clear weaknesses, like a vulnerable citadel on the North Carolina here. It also helps that NC leads directly into Iowa and then Montana, some of the better higher tier vanilla battleships to learn on too. So once you feel comfortable at tier 8, you can move up to higher tiers and have some great ships there as an option as well. The downside being this is more of a, I want to learn how to get better at battleships and standard battleship play rather than possibly the first line you should be going towards. I still would love it if you could, but let's be honest here, the mid-tier American battleships, they are very slow and they get overmatched all the time with some of the least accurate guns, especially New Mexico. That ship is just a shotgun. It's a bit of a tricky one to get to, but once you're here, it's feeling pretty good. And yes, we did manage to collect that Graf Spee at the end for our Kraken in this one. Pretty fast blowout game, but a lot of games are blowouts, so I have to include them here and there. We can't always have the perfect close match, okay? Wargaming's got to fix their matchmaker or something. Still a great example. See how we're pushing up? Like I said, that cap is a great indicator of how close we may want to get with our battleship, at least in the early game. Don't use this for every match in every scenario, but as a general rule to start with, it also is a great indicator of how close our destroyer is generally going to be to the enemy. We can place our detection circle about where the enemy destroyer's detection circle is, and that is just free engagement distance that we're acquiring there. It allows us to push up, and if we get spotted, we know at that point the destroyer is likely to get into a fight, so we're as close as we can to help on him. NC, again, not maybe the fastest battleship, but pretty good at getting to a flank. It's much faster than Colorado and New Mexico before it. And I always am looking to position myself on a flank to catch people off guard. 406s are very good at tier 8, but not as good overall these days compared to when this ship was released. Let me remind you, way back in the day, there was no 30 millimeters of armor outside of Zao. So 406s just overmatched I know, Atago deck armor, okay? I am aware. But Atago and Zao were the only things that would actually bounce an NC. You would overmatch Des Moines everywhere back in the day with NC. So 30 millimeters of armor, a little more common, though overmatched by 457s these days. It forces you to find those broadsides, get a little more creative, and of course, surprise the enemy. NC is very, very good in these sorts of situations. So I had a lot of fun playing NC a couple games here, and I wanted to bring this back as this game is so fun to play when it's not purely gimmick heavy and you're getting on the receiving end of very annoying gimmicks. I think this game is actually at its best with those simpler ships. I think it gets much more frustrating the more gimmicks they add. Look at that. That is such a satisfying salvo. That was almost a 60,000 damage salvo. No gimmicks, just a good, solid battleship in a good position to catch someone off guard, right? That feels amazing. It feels so much better to do that than to gimmick, use a burst fire, or to use an ultra accurate salvo, or to use a consumable reload combat instruction to live forever, for example. These sorts of things. They can be fun briefly, but I don't think they stand up as well to the test of time. Maybe that is just because I've played the game since 2015, and I remember those days rather fondly. So I personally prefer that sort of standard engagement that we had back then between all the three classes, less of the gimmicks, less blurring of the class lines, that sort of thing. There are obviously some massive improvements Wargaming's made. It's not like the game has gotten worse or anything like that, for the most part. There are some things, I would say, but that's not for this video. That's not for this video, okay? Let's not. We got very lucky to deal with that Pommer not actually citadeling us there. It is time to kite. Perhaps I played a little too passive. My team has died completely on this flank. But also, there was a lot of enemy ships here and potential crossfires. Our team has control of the other cap, our home cap, but not a lot of control elsewhere. So I was worried about the crossfires potentially coming in from the Thunderer area, as well, brawling a Pommer, not the best idea in a North Carolina. We really want to play at these sorts of mid-ranges, and it can do very well at that. I haven't been helping on the DDs quite so much in this one. Probably a mistake as well. NC shells are quite slow, notably. Been playing some of the new Setembro and going from the fastest battleship shells in the game to one of the slowest. It takes some getting used to, okay? It takes some getting used to, but also feels quite rewarding in its own way. So yes, probably I haven't convinced you that you should just go play an NC. It is still probably worse than a lot of the new gimmick ships, okay? I gotta be real here. It probably is. The new gimmicks are just extremely powerful. The F keys, all of that sort of thing. It's just that if you want to get better at the game, I don't think that those are the ships to play all the time. It's good to practice in them, of course, but to get the solid foundation, I think this is true across the classes, destroyers, cruisers, battleships. Get your solid foundation where you understand the fundamentals of the class, how the spotting works, how survivability works, how your damage goes, how your battle impact can be had through more than just farming damage from the back of the map, that sort of thing. Each class plays so differently. That's really interesting. But the more you play, or at least I find, the more I play the gimmick heavy ships, the further away I get from the basics, which then leads to breakdowns in my basic sort of play with those gimmick heavy ships. So that's really what I'm getting at here. I know Wargaming is just going to continue full steam ahead with the crazy gimmicks, but man, I wish for a time where we could play just the classics again. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh wait, they did do that, didn't they? And then they made it so you could only play extremely low tier until they had released years where all the gimmicks had already existed, and no one got to actually play the 2015 boats at high tier. Unlucky. I guess we'll just have to settle for matchmaker like this. Fortunate to not get a full up tier into tier 10. What you should always be thinking of, like, I want you to notice how often I'm using this concealment thing. That's why I brought it up in the commentary side of it. But I also want to talk about getting into positions where you will be more likely to find broadsides. Think about it. If you're a cruiser, where are you going? You're probably going to this island. You're on the other side, you're probably going here. Maybe you're going here. Maybe you're going in here. Maybe you're going here. Things like this. So if that's what we're doing as a cruiser, or we're playing open water on the flank, then that is where we want to go as a battleship and do our best to catch those broadsides. Wichita on the flank. Open water is not as scary, but we're close enough that we can help on this DD engagement. See that? Always wanting to be helpful there. But I also want to think about, should I be shooting at the destroyer, or is it better to go after the cruiser, push the Wichita and his radar? I believe Wichita is a radar. Yes, and his radar back. I am far too broadside, though, and Bismarck punishes me. See, it's really nice to have those very clear feedback in these situations. With the Bismarck leaving, I do think it is good to keep pushing this Wichita, actually. I want to help my destroyers, and this radar is a massive, massive problem. He's turning in, so we're going to aim here, try and catch him sort of towards the bow, ideally. Yeah, we get a decent hit. We do get a decent hit here. Shiratsuyu pushing up very aggressively. Do you notice how the Bismarck is so far away and how close we are? We're able to help, where the Bismarck isn't as much. Now, I'm in an NC. I'm not as good at brawling, of course, but it's worth trying these sorts of positions. Now, did he get his torps off? I don't think he got the angle for it, actually, so we're in a decent enough shape here. With the Wichita leaving... Oh, I'm going to use my plane to get a little better vision here. With the Wichita leaving, I do want to continue to pressure him to force him further back from our friendly destroyers. But again, we're trying to help on these DD engagements. A battleship has a lot of battle impact through its just overall HP pool tankiness. You got to help on these engagements. So as a vanilla battleship, that's what we're trying. Now, my team has died, unfortunately, at a Johnston. But still, the point stands. And I will take that one last blind shot there. If he goes in a straight line, that actually might get him, because that looked like pretty good accuracy. He dodged. Good decision on his part. Now we have to watch out for this Tennessee pushing up and catching our broadside here. But now they may be caught in a crossfire themselves. Do I want to push spawn? No, I do not. But this Wichita is still caught a little too close. So that's what I want to go after here. Do we get the dispersion? We certainly do not. Oh my goodness. Oh no, I was praising NC. It wants to prove me wrong, apparently. So, Johnston, obviously the one smoking this. He will likely get spotted by our Jaeger, so let's get ready for that. He's also very likely going to be the one torping at us. I'm still a little too broadside to this Bismarck, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm kind of greeting it out a little bit too much. So, do we wait? I'm not detected, so I think Johnston actually made a curling motion like that. So I do not think he's actually going to get spotted by the Jaeger. We will need to pay attention to that, though. If he does, we need to help. Seemingly our Jaeger is electing to push in front of this island. So if he does that, we need to be here to help out. If he gets caught in front of it. And indeed he does. Look at that. See, we're ready. We're ready to help. This is what it's all about, guys. That's what it's all about. 241, though. That's unfortunate. Perhaps a teammate will be able to get some finishing shots here. Our cruiser, our other battleships, maybe. I am not so sure. Unfortunately, the Jaeger got lit there, so he does end up going down as well. Johnston shot, though, at least, so that will allow us to, ideally, get some shots into him here. Gonna dodge that way. We're bow onto the torps, but we're going to eat this one. And we miss, unfortunately. We do miss. That is quite bad. I wish I could have hit a few more shells this match. We're seeing NC at its worst, perhaps, here. Oh, and Picardy got the angle. Interesting. He even citadeled us. Those are some of the worst guns in the game. That is a surprise. I gotta say, that is a surprise. Bouncing off the Wichita. That's not so good. Come on, team. Get the Picardy, please. Nice. Okay, they get him. That allows me to angle to the torps that are inevitably coming from this side. I'm so low that one of them, yeah, is going to be bound to open up at us. Let's go there. Kill turn in. We get the heal, though. And our damage control is coming back up. Oh my, the dispersion is really not in our favor, though. Unfortunately. I am rolling quite poorly. I was never very good at dice games. Not much of a D&D player. I'm sure you can imagine why. I'm sure you can imagine exactly why. Very worried about Johnston Torps from over here, but I don't think there's much I can really do about that. Okay, there we go. That's a little better hit. Our HP pool being so low has kind of baited these guys into getting kind of caught by us. That's good, right? Yeah, there we go. A little more damage. Yeah. So, we've managed to trade out the Wichita here just by being low HP and tanking for a bit. Getting caught bow in, not a good look, okay? Not a good look. Oh, man, and there's a perfect torp gap. Can I make it? Please! Okay, hold. We're alive. They're going to lead for me to keep reversing. I need to survive one more Bismarck salvo. Johnston should shoot. So we go forward. This is why we have prop mod. 14 seconds. Yeah, we avoid that. All right, Johnston, come on. If you don't, I'm going to heal. I'm alive. He tried it. Oh, look who it is. The NC stands tall with some of the lowest damage I've seen out of it, but we managed to make it work. Oh my goodness. So the guns, maybe not as consistent as I was saying. This is a bit of an unfortunate one that we got ourselves into here. I was hoping for a little better out of them. But you saw earlier that they can absolutely slap. They certainly can. And that's a skill too, is being able to recognize where torps are coming from, how to angle properly. I didn't do the best job of angling early, so we lost some HP early. Using island cover to isolate 1v1s, you know, putting the island between myself and the Picardy. These are all things that, if you're paying attention to your positioning, paying attention to what your teammates are doing, that sort of thing, you learn. You're forced to learn, I suppose, here with this sort of ship. So this one's gotten very close at the end here. The Oster's in the cap, and the Renowned 44 we know is right there. So we're pushing up to try and, yeah, help on the DD engagement. As per usual, we're going to leave him on 100. That's okay, though. Our Helena gets him. Good thing we had some cruiser backup against this destroyer. One last salvo. Can you redeem yourself, NC Guns? Shatters. Oh, what a sad one for the gun performance. And yet, guys, we got a 1 on 66,000 damage. How insane is that? Speaking of battle impact without pre-kited farming big damage numbers, there it is. Wow. Usually your guns are going to hit a little harder than that. Learning what you can and can't get away with, I suppose, is a skill as well. And definitely something you should be trying to learn, as there are plenty of ways that you can help your team by tanking damage, as we saw. But also, you do need to stay alive to actually help out your team. If you die instantly, it's not going to go so well. Let's hopefully have a better example of knowing where the enemy team likes to go. They like to split like this, just like our team does. Every once in a while, a cruiser will play this island, so we'll look out for that as well. But a lot of the times, teams like to split towards the far islands in the corners. So if we know that, why don't we push up into a spot like here where we can get very nice shots at that? It also gets us closer to the cap. All good things for a battleship to do in the early game. Though at the start here, I suppose we're seeing the Bairn actually leave the flank. That's kind of interesting. Also a submarine here. I have not talked about the matchmaker that we got in this one just yet. But yes, double carrier and a submarine is, shall we say, not my favorite. Ah, the Cherbourg. But now I'm looking at the San Diego, who has pushed towards a pretty common, or somewhat common, island in the middle of the map. Nice damage into the submarine. Can I arc this with NC's very slow shells? I don't think so. So we'll just keep pushing ourselves up and looking for opportunities to apply a lot of pressure to the enemy team. Especially now that this submarine is dead. We are going to look for the Cherbourg, as that's a very difficult ship to get away from the flank. Our cruisers can take a lot of damage to that, so we're going to look for that. Lexington here, Shores, you know, if he reverses broadside, that sort of thing. Graf Zeppelin here. Wait, both their carriers are coming this way. That leads me to want to play a little bit more passive, okay? We don't want to just get annihilated for free. But if we can take these guys out early, that is going to be very, very, very good. And NC has some okay AA, I would say. So what we're going to have to do is make sure that we don't show broadside on to this clump of enemies here. Yeah, there's a good hit. Okay. NC's woken up. It was the camo change. Didn't talk about it, but North Carolina getting a special North Carolina themed camo is kind of why I played it again. Reminded me to play the ship and had some fun with it, so I wanted to share. But maybe the COTS camo that I like so much was not the way. Maybe that was not the way. So we're gonna run it back with the old original. And yes, indeed, for those Dark Souls enjoyers, this is what we want to see. Bow on to the Cherbourg. We've got islands between ourselves, Colorado, Bayern. This is a great spot to be in, though probably one where we should be pushing up soon. So I would love to push up here and catch Colorado's broadside, but if I do too much of that, I'm going to be broadside on to the Cherbourg. I think this is still worth going for, though. Okay, let's check where the Colorado's guns are looking. Not at us. Great. Our Ismail's also pushing up here. Our cruisers are about to get the flank going here as well. So I think this is actually quite good timing on our part here. Colorado is just so broadside though too. Hopefully we get ourselves a salvo. Nope, we do not. Oh, sadness. Is he going to slap us in return? He's got HE. Okay, well, we don't have to worry about the HE from the Colorado then. We'll get behind this island from him, though. Cherbourg has other things to deal with, so pushing up. Let's go after priority targets. Who is the most dangerous here to us? Well, probably the San Diego. Can I greed out a turret or two here? Oh, yes, I can. NC has come to play. Welcome back to the battle, NC. Amazing. Now, what's next? Probably the Bayern trying to ram us, if I had to guess. That is not the dispersion we're looking for. Get some okay damage there. Though, perhaps he doesn't ram us thanks to the submarine torpedoes. Our first turret is back up. We're not going to Citadel a German battleship, so we'll just send it upper belt and get some very, very good full pens into him. There we go. Oh, so much better. I'm glad NC's guns decided to work this time. Situational awareness is rather poor at the moment. Remember how I said my cruisers were getting the flank going? Yeah, they forced the Cherbourg out flat broadside to us, and guess who? Their battleship friend is not paying any attention to help them out. That was poor play on my part, but we should call it out anyway. Worth mentioning the mistakes we make, because that's instructional as well. Cherbourg probably going to continue his turn like this, so we'll hold. Right? Or we can go for the bow. We'll go for the bow in this case. Okay, bit of a yoink. I apologize to my cruiser players. My fault, my fault. Been mixing it up here, though. This is a much more aggressive game than I thought this would be, actually, considering carrier sub, but we will take it. Broadside cruiser. Make sure we're leading enough. He turns in, so these should go high. It goes low enough? Wait a second. I don't understand the aiming system. We'll take a dev strike, though. We'll take the dev strike, though. And is there a chance that we can yoink our way to a Kraken here? Possibly. I think so. I underled, though. Awkward, awkward, awkward. I've redeemed myself. I got him that time. Okay. Hey, you know what? We're at least over 100k for that Kraken. Leading at range is hard, of course, but Anhalts go like 2 knots, so surely we don't have to lead too much for him as he accelerates. It really teaches you to be patient and take the right shot, I suppose. Here we go as he turns away. I'm leading much more this time. And we're closer, which makes it a lot easier too. That looks pretty good. The slow shells are definitely a downside. There are other battleships you can learn on. Definitely the more vanilla ones are the way to go. You know, playing something like an Amagi can be good if you want to learn that kind of sort of kiting playstyle. Flanking playstyle, it's faster, that sort of thing. Still has very good guns. A little less consistent, I would say, personally, but still has very good guns. I do think as we go to higher tier from these lines that Iowa is probably better than Izumo, as is Monty from Yamato, at least for me personally. So that's one of the reasons here too. Maybe we can greed out some more damage off of the Lexington. Yeah, okay, nice hit. There's some of that overmatch coming into play. 146k Kraken looks a little more respectable now, doesn't it? Not actually yoinking all the kills from my team. Right? Surely that is not what was happening there. I think we get the carrier here as well. We need a Citadel or two, but I think so. Oh, yeah. The high caliber. Look at that. A high caliber means we got a lot of damage. Tier 8 is also a much more fun tier to play, assuming you're not getting the up tiers. But even so, we did pretty well into the up tier we did get earlier. And another E in this one. Okay. I'll take it. 6 kills onto that one. NC is a ship that I vibe with, okay? So perhaps there's some bias there coming into play where I just really get along well with this sort of ship and consistently have some pretty good experience with it. But I think that is true for a lot of people who are wanting to learn how to play battleships well or know how to play battleships well. This just has the right tool set. You got good guns, good armor, great detect. Again, surprising enemy ships with your positioning helps a lot. It also lets us get closer without being detected, so we're closer for those destroyer engagements that we want the help on. Surprisingly, a lot of HP here, nearly 70k alongside an improved heal. It's not super healing, but you heal back more than a standard heal. That was a buff it got many, many, many years ago. Good enough deck armor that you're not getting just perma overmatch when you get the up tiers into like Yamatos, for example. It still hurts, obviously. The higher tier cruiser, heavy HE, that sort of stuff, like Des Moines, for example, the DPM cruisers, that sort of thing, they shatter. Where some other battleships at your tier can just get farmed down rather easily, I would say. Amagi, an example of that, though it has some better armor in other places, it's faster, that sort of thing. But I absolutely love North Carolina and had a great time playing with it. I like these sort of classic playstyles much more so than the gimmick-heavy ones, shall we say. A lot of the new ships. I'll enjoy them for a bit, but not as consistently enjoyable for me over the long run. Here's the build that I was running. If you're wanting to learn battleships, do not take super heavy AP shells. It is just going to be a hindrance more than it is a help. So just go basic survivability. If you only have like a 10-pointer, I would go emergency repair specialist, turret traverse, adrenaline rush, probably either take conceal or fire prevention first, and then take the other one for your 14-pointer. Make sure you get these two as your first 2 4-point skills. And then after that, you can go for the extra healing if you would like to. Upgrades wise, I would probably also go with turret traverse if you're learning as well. The extra range is not going to be useful for you at all. I'm taking it for the cope dispersion. It's like, is it a couple percent? It's not even a percent better. I don't know the exact number, but it's such a small difference that increasing your range will buff your vertical dispersion by a little bit. They had to data mine it. Like no one actually knew this until they got into the code to data mine this sort of thing years ago. So probably just stick with turret traverse. It'll help you out much more so, I think, if you're learning and trying to understand the battleship playstyle. You won't be pre-turning your turrets to the right spot as much. So having the faster turret traverse helps a lot too. Might also be worth looking at damage control system mod too. You won't be as used to using prop mod to avoid shells as I am, so it might not save you as much health as just eating less fire damage does. So that's going to do it for NC. Perhaps a little weird to play such an old ship, but I had to, okay? I had to. It's a nice way to end the week, and I had a really good time with this one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Beginner ships to play for people. Battleships, for me, I think it's NC. But what do you think about cruisers or destroyers? What's the standard cruiser, the standard destroyer playstyle? Now, I know there's different archetypes within those two classes as well, but very vanilla ships, not gimmick heavy. That's what I'd like to know. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.